Hey there, everyone. Hi, my name is Mitch, and I'm an alcoholic, and I have your daily reflections for October 22nd. Got into the holidays with this wonderful hat. This one's titled True Tolerance. Finally, we begin to see that all people, including ourselves, are to some extent emotionally ill as well as frequently wrong. Then we approach true tolerance and see what real love for our fellows actually means. And that comes from the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions, page 92. And it continues. The thought occurred to me that all people are emotionally ill to some extent. How could we not be? Who among us is spiritually perfect? Who among us is physically perfect? How could any of us be emotionally perfect? Therefore, what else are we to do but bear with one another and treat each other as we would be treated in similar circumstances? That is what love really is. And that last part saying, therefore, what else are we to do but bear with one another and treat each other as we would be treated in similar circumstances? That's the part that stood out to me real good. Just kind of how we are, to me, we could judge people very easily. So we have to try to be accepting of others and try to not judge. It's really hard because I do it too. I still have trouble with that. So this is my little bit of what I take away from this. Wrote it down again. I still have trouble with that sometimes. It can be very difficult to stop that. I believe it is an ego characteristic. And here are some of the reasons I think that we do these things and judge the other people. There's a lot of reasons, but these are some little specific ones that I pointed out, especially mainly in recovery. But a lot of this, like always, goes to regular life as well. But in recovery, number one, we do these things to build ourselves up through the failure of others. I've seen it in rehab and not in rehab. Someone will relapse and the sober people are laughing about it or doing inventory on them, and they're doing that inventory talking about, oh, I knew this was going to happen, and they are quick to point out the things that caused it, when really we shouldn't be focusing on what caused it. It happened and you got to deal with it, and you want to help the person as quick as you can, I guess, depending on the circumstances. If it's something that keeps happening, that person needs to go get that help themselves. But yeah, people laughing about it, and I've seen it in rehab. It's horrible. And they talk about, oh, did you hear such and such? He went out last night. Someone with a lot of sobriety, someone with no sobriety. It doesn't matter who you are. That's also why they say that one day at a time thing. But someone's relapsed, and everyone's quick to point fingers and laugh about it and do their personal inventory on them. And that's another thing. It's like we can't be sitting there judging everyone else, and we are that same person too. We've been there as well. It's hard though, because we do it a lot, and not just in rehab. We're quick to just judge people, and we do that, I think, to build ourselves up. It's an ego thing. It makes us feel great about ourselves, like, oh, I'm still sober, or, I'm never late for work, whatever the case may be. Also, I've seen plenty of people relapse themselves that are saying this stuff, and it's sad. I mean, someone can have the willpower to do it, but chances I've noticed in my time in recovery are sketchy when people are immediately saying, like, oh, I'm done with it. Never again. Won't do this ever again. I'm done with alcohol. And especially on their first times around, it's really hard for first timer people. But, you see all sorts of funny stuff. And it's like, there was a guy that's like in rehab, and he was quick to be like, oh, I've got this down. And he skipped step one, but he's done all the other steps. And step one is admitting you're an alcoholic or an addict, and you're powerless. But he wouldn't admit that. And that's the first step. It's very important for us to admit that. If you're not admitting defeat, then you're still clinging on to the fight, But I just have seen that a lot, and it's not something I think is funny and doing inventory on anyone. I just see it, and it could be scary, when people are just like, no, I'm done. All I got to do is do it with my willpower. That's it. That's a whole nother thing, too. If you're just doing it with your willpower, there's probably still a bit of you inside that wants to do it, so your mind is going to be deprived of something, it feels like, so you're going to be miserable. And like I've said before, that's where dry drunks are. They're just miserable, but they're sober. because they want to do it, but they can't, but they're fighting it because they're so strong. And number two, quick to point fingers. It takes the focus off ourselves. So there's not a light shining on us and our defects of character. So we're real happy when that happens. Obviously, I'm not saying I'm happy or we are, but people, when they're doing that, oh, he went out and relapsed. Oh man, that sucks. I knew that was going to happen. I saw it coming. Yeah. It's like, built myself up, and then it's cool because I'm still sober. And again, I've seen that same kind of thing happen. Person goes and does the same thing as that person. So it's like that one day at a time thing, and not taking inventory on people. We need to be looking at ourselves. It's messed up to sit there and just judge other people when we were that person or are that person, and we should be there to help them. And that's also, I think, what I'm getting to in a little bit. But number three, we judge others according to our image of perfection, and naturally they will fall short of our expectations. Got that from a book I'm reading called The Four Agreements. It's really cool. Don Miguel Ruiz, really good. But it's funny because we have this perception in our mind of what we think perfect is and what people should be. So if they're not meeting that criteria, then we're real quick to judge them. And most of the time, they're not going to meet it. I mean, everyone is so different and unique. And if you think you're going to get everyone to do everything exactly the way you want it, you're crazy, because it's not going to happen. And then you're going to build up resentments, anger, and stress. And that'll lead to anxiety. It's all connected. But yeah, that's a whole nother subject. I do want to do a video on that because I'm learning a lot in this class I'm in right now about stress and all this stuff. It's really cool. I'm going to do a whole separate thing that I just haven't edited the videos yet, but I'm in this court program now for my addiction, for DWIs and stuff, and I'm learning a whole lot, and it's really cool because my perception of it is I'm psyched, I'm learning it, I really care about this. So, you see people in there that are just doing it so they can get their license back, and it's court, it's better than going to prison or jail, whatever. But man, that perception, if you really want it, then that's great. So either way, that's a whole nother thing. And number four, there are so many ways to do a particular thing, so many roads that can lead to the same destination. Who are we to judge others in the path that they take to their recovery? We are all different, and yet we're all the same in the sense that we have an addiction that was or is controlling our life. We should never judge others because we are the same and have been where they are. And that's what it is. There's a lot of different ways to do the same thing, different ways to skin a cat, whatever the saying is. I think that's it. But like, not AA is for everyone, and that's okay, because if you could find your recovery in other aspects, more power to you. That's great. You're doing it, and if you're happy, then that's fine. Just find what works for you, and that's okay. And don't judge other people. If they're staying sober, even if they're doing it the dry drunk way, whatever, they're staying sober. So you can't really question it. Everyone's different. They're going to do things the way they want to do it. Just like in skateboarding, I use that example again. There's like a bunch of different ways to do a certain trick. Everyone else has their own way of doing it, puts their foot in a different spot. And it's like that with everything. You could think of anything, art, playing guitar, whatever. And, how can we be someone to sit there and judge someone for how they're doing that? That's just taking inventory and taking the focus off ourselves, when really we should help each other, build people up, help them in their recovery, and that helps us. And not just be thinking of self. It's a selfish program, but it's also, you're here to help other people and continue carrying the message of hope to everyone that asks for it. So yeah, keep our hearts open to help, understand and accept everyone that asks for the help, and stay out of our ego, because that's so pivotal to it. It's our ego. And if we could learn different ways to break that down, I've been doing a lot of studying on our psychiatry, like my psyche, and why I'm doing these certain things. So that's another good thing that I'm realizing. We have these issues, the stress that's really bad for addicts. We tend to have a lot of stress, and it can stem from childhood traumas, childhood incidents, not necessarily always that, but we carry these things around, and we have a lot of stress, and we cope with that stress by drinking or using, because that stress will turn to anxiety, and we're feeling that physical pain and suffering of anxiety, and we want to cope with it with drugs or alcohol. And studies do show that there's a bigger link with us, and it also shows like the first times you start to like experience that and you cope with that stress with drinking, you're more susceptible to it happening again, easier and easier and easier. And it's like pretty subtle, so we're not noticing these things. We have the blind spot, our goggles, but it's that cunning and baffling disease. And not trying to stem off the subject of this daily reflection, but I always do anyway. But also, I just wanted to say again, let's not judge other people. Everyone knows that, and it's hard, and you'll find yourself doing it. We do it a lot, and we could take a look in the mirror, and that would be pretty wise. I found a good quote too. Let me read this guy for you real quick. I love the quotes. All right. This one is from Clint Eastwood. This is, before you judge me, make sure you're perfect. And again, we're all going to do it. We judge people, It's human nature. But I guess you got to have that bad with the good and the good with the bad. But try and notice it when you're doing it and start being aware of it. And you could fix that problem just like anything. Try to do your inventory, write down the things that are causing you this pain that leads you to wanting to drink, and write down the emotions. Sit, meditate on it, think about, what does it serve you? Do you really need it? Are you even in control of that situation that's stressing you out? And that's when you just got to release it and let it go. Keep that heart open, process it, and let it go. That's all I got. Thank you guys for listening. I hope you're having safe holidays and everyone is doing well. Love you guys, and I'll pass. Bye.